The Fourth Amendment of the United States Bill of Rights is as follows. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Something huge and not good just happened in Indiana, which will be little more than a blip in the propaganda that passes for national news nowadays. The Supreme Court of Indiana just ruled that in Indiana, if a police officer decides to illegally come into your house, you're not allowed to do anything to stop him. According to Justice Stephen David, resisting an admittedly unlawful police entry into a home is against quote-unquote public policy. Got that? If you live in Indiana and a cop decides to invade your home without a shred of legal justification, it is considered a crime for you to do anything to stop him. Bizarrely, Justice, and I use that term lightly, David also said that resisting law-breaking cops goes against quote-unquote modern Fourth Amendment jurisprudence, end quote. You see, only judges are wise enough to know that when the Fourth Amendment says you have a right to be free from, quote, unreasonable search and seizure, end quote, it actually means that the cops have the right to commit unreasonable search and seizure, and you have no right to do anything to stop it. It is an essential major step towards totalitarianism for the control freaks to decide that even when they break their own laws, their victims have no right to resist. There is a huge principle at stake here. And what these three Indiana jackass judges have just done is guarantee either complete totalitarianism or a bloody revolution, or both, in that order. Because this ruling means, quite literally, that residents of Indiana have no rights at all. What would it possibly mean to say you have a right to not have your home illegally invaded by a jackbooted thug, while also saying that you cannot do anything to defend that right? To say that you are legally required to allow your rights to be violated means that they aren't rights. But never fear, because according to the Supreme Jackass Court of Indiana, you can always come crawling to your masters after you've been illegally victimized by one of their jackboots to beg for some restitution. Good luck with that, by the way. Justice David says that after you let the cops illegally invade your home, you can always protest the illegal entry through the court system. If anyone considers this reasonable, keep in mind that by the exact same reasoning, and I use that term extremely loosely, they might as well also rule that if a cop decides to shoot your dog, or steal your car, or rape your wife, you have to quietly stand by and let him do that, and then later file a complaint or a lawsuit. In other words, the jackboots can do absolutely anything they fucking well please, legal or not, and your only recourse is to later whine to the very control freaks that the jackboots work for. What was the rationale for this? In case all of the above wasn't Orwellian enough, check this out. Justice David argued that allowing resistance to law-breaking cops unnecessarily escalates the level of violence and therefore the risk of injuries to all parties involved. Holy smokes. Why wouldn't this psychotic reasoning so mean that if anyone breaks into your house or assaults you or steals your stuff, or otherwise attacks you, you'd better let him do it in order to avoid escalating the level of violence. Using defensive violence to combat aggressive violence is completely justified and righteous. Notwithstanding the opinions of the tyranny apologists appointed by the parasite class, if a cop illegally barges into your home, you have every right to escalate the level of violence to any extent necessary to stop him, including blowing the fucker's damn head off. I'm glad I don't live in Indiana, because if some cop decided to barge into my house without a shred of legal justification, I'd know that if I tried to hold him back or push him out, I'd be arrested and prosecuted. So I just have to shoot the bastard instead. And since it's tough to do that sort of thing without anyone noticing, I would then be a fugitive for having defended my home and family against an invading criminal. And if that must happen, and I was forced to become a fugitive, I might feel obliged to go pay a visit to the 3 stupid motherfucking jackass judges who just decided to declare it a crime for someone to defend himself against illegal trespassing, breaking and entering, and assault if the scumbag's attackers happen to have a badge. I have an idea. If there are any Indiana cops who still respect the Constitution, please do a state a huge favor and go barge into the home of the Justice Stephen David during a supper. Would probably be a good time. Barge in without a warrant and without any legal justification, guns drawn, and start ordering people around. See if Justice David does anything to resist. If he does, lock his fascist ass up for violating his own fucking idiotic legal rule. In fact, since he's just declared it to be illegal for him to resist your illegal invasion of his home, if he lifts a finger to stop you, shoot the fucker, or at least give him a good tasering. That's exactly what happened in the case where Justice David sided with the law-breaking cop. After all, we can't just let people assault police officers, now can we? If some Indiana cop had the spine to do that, I know several thousand who would be thrilled beyond words.